alim letrufah, eternally yours, letter 164. Isaac Shloimoi, David Rusam, Simchon of 1-1. Many must make Kunuleni must make Kunuleni must make Kunuleni. Compilers note, this is the letter which our teacher Reb Dustin himself wrote to the Sovereign Rebbe in order to calm the controversy and save his life and the lives of his followers, and to rescue them from the life-threatening attacks to which they were subjected. However, he was not successful. His words didn't penetrate the Sovereign's heart because of all the slander and calumny that he had heard. Were it not for God who helped us and answered our cries from persecution, blessed is God who did not give us as prey to their teeth. Reb Noson's letters enumerates many of the abuses, physical and emotional, heaped upon the breast of a Hasidim, giving the reader a rough idea of the suffering endured. With God's help, Wednesday night, Vayishlach 5595, breasted from afar I call in peace, for the moss on the wall to the towering cedar of Lebanon. The holy, renowned Rav, whose name may its light shine, is known throughout the Jewish people, the mighty pillar, the great hammer, the holy man of God. Holy is said of his name, his fittest praise is silence. Rabbi Moshe Tzvi, may his light shine. I know it is not customary for the lowly to give initial greetings to the great before the sake of peace, whose enormous value our rabbis of blessed memory praise so highly, relating that God says, let my name be erased in the water of the Soita wanton woman for the sake of peace. Along with many other similar statements, I have decided to overstep the bounds of convention. I write this letter with great trepidation, for who knows if my words will enter his pure heart, for a covenant has been made for slander to be accepted, to the extent that our sages teach that even King David accepted slander. But I must do my parts no matter what, so I am sending these words in order to save my life and the lives of the good people who depend on me. You, my master, whose wisdom is like that of one of God's angels, which know all that takes place in the world, will understand that these words come from my heart in sincerity and truth. My mind is really too unclear to compose a letter fit to be sent to one of the generation's greatest men, because of the great controversy and suffering which attack me from all sides. Waters surround me, they threaten my life, but who could remain silent at a time such as this? I shudder to think of it. But from what we hear here about statements which his learned honor has made, it appears that he has lent support to the people who are nurturing this machlokes. Most of them, as his wisdom knows in his heart, have attacked you as well, my exalted, honorable, and scholarly Lord. Now let my Lord please remember the laws of the redeeming of innocent people, and do not allow innocent Jewish blood to be spilled. Because they are spilling our blood already with the greatest indignations, the like of which has never been heard. They pelt us with stones and dirts, and pity neither children nor elders. If God has not helped us, they would have swallowed us alive. So now let my Lord turn his pure heart to do what he has done so well in the past, and mediate a peace in Israel, a peace between fellow men, while conceding something to the guilty party is often unavoidable. A wise man knows the value of a compromise, while conceding something to the guilty party is often unavoidable. A wise man knows the value of a compromise. How many thousands of times more valuable is it, and how much more is a person who has it in his power to make peace obligated to do so, when he sees a machlokes of these proportions, which involves a danger to life and a chilul Hashem, a desecration of God's holy name. For they have gone ahead and are tearing up the holy books that our master teacher and holy Rebbe of sainted memory composed. They tread on them with their feet and throw them into garbage dumps and in clean places. Has such a thing ever been heard? Has anything like this ever been seen? And they never think to open the book to see what is written there, and whether or not it deserves such abuse. And our companions who take shelter in his holy shadow and study his holy books, which have already circulated throughout the Jewish people to the ends of the earth, and we have been informed that they have already been reprinted in distant places. When they see the generation's impudent people so shamelessly disgracing the books, they are forced to remain silent and bite their tongues. But
But the opponents aren't satisfied with this, and they slander without restraints, going so far as to raise their hands and strike our poor persecuted comrades. Then our comrades can no longer restrain themselves, and they meet these attacks with all their might, for they are embittered men, and having been persecuted to the breaking point, their counterattacks are that much stronger. As the wise man said, no one is braver than a desperate man, so that the quarreling and fighting have intensified and have broken out on many occasions in many different towns. Would it be conceivable to feed the fire, God forbid, of a machlokes such as this, and to inflame it even further? In his heart, my master knows that we are firmly committed to the point of truth, and that it is impossible to shake us from him, a blessed memory, and from his holy books, God forbid, for we know in our souls the truth of his holy words, which are founded and stand upon the pediment of truth, which we receive from our rabbis, a blessed memory in the Talmud, the codes, and in all the holy Musar literature, composed by the holy tzaddikim who followed them. May their merit protect us. Nanach nachmo meyuman. Nanach nachmo meyuman. The entire house of Israel has seen this, at least anyone who wanted the truth and looked at them, read Ben Nachman's teachings honestly and sincerely. Oh, how is it possible to deny words of truth such as these? If people do not wish to look at them, no one is going to force them. Those who wish to will listen, and those who don't will refrain. But what gives anyone the right to feed a fire, God forbid, which has already been burning now for many years? It is well known that I, poor destitute man that I am, have already put my life on the line and have given myself over completely, soul, body, and money for the truth. God knows it is true that I spoke extensively with the great leaders and holy men of Israel. The tzaddikim, the foundations of the world, made their merit protect us, even after I drew close to our master teacher and illustrious Rebbe, the holy Rav Maharan, of saint memory. All of them welcomed me with great love and warmth. This was especially so of our teacher, the holy and awesome Rav Levi Yitzchak of Berditchev, and after him the holy Rav Avram Ber of Chamelnik and the holy Rav Shalom of Pravishт. All of saint memory, along with other great leaders, Rabbi Zisha of Anipoli and Rabbi Mordechai of Kremenitz, among others, before I drew close to our master. Oh, before I drew close to our master teacher and illustrious Rebbe of saint memory, I was sitting in the dust at their feet. Afterwards, when they saw how I had changed for the better and was, with God's help, giving myself over with greater devotion to Torah and prayer, their love for me only increased, and all of them had me give him a blessed memory their good wishes. Nanach nachmo meyuman. Today, I am well over 50 years old. Rebbe Nassim was 55 then and have endured much. All your breakers and waves have gone over me. I have been involved with his holy books now for over 32 years. I have had the merit of printing them many times, with the approbations of the great men of Israel, famous and brilliant writers themselves, and these books have been dispersed throughout the Jewish people, especially in Lithuania, Ryson, Greater Poland, and in the land of Israel. In all these places people praise them and say that they are indeed awesome words of truth, which open doors to all who come knocking in Teshuvah, and that they direct people on the straight path. Nanach nachmo meyuman. 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 Only in our region is there so much machlokes because of the foolishness that left the mouth of his great adversary. Ayalei b'shpole. Nanach nachmo meyuman, who I am, whom I totally and absolutely reject and do not want to discuss. You, my master, know too that it was not correct to oppose him. Rebbe Nachman of blessed memory, and that he only increased machlokes in Israel so much so that even if the greatest of the great wanted to set things right, I don't know if he could, for I know that what he has spoiled will remain so for generations until our righteous teacher comes and reveals the truth. At the very least, though, the machlokes must not be exacerbated. Nanach nachmo meyuman. Please, my master, who loves the Jewish people, Please, my master who loves the Jewish people and who works for their rectification, forgive me if my pen has written anything which affronts his great honor. Give me the benefit of the doubt. I am writing amidst great trials and pains, with a sincerely broken and downcast heart, downcast very much indeed. I am overwrought in the extreme. God, how much longer will this go on? My spirit has been torn apart within me. What can I say? What can I say? What can I say to justify myself? God has found my sin. He is just and I have done wrong, but God looks after the persecuted, even if the righteous are chasing the guilty. And this is certainly the case in this machlokes, when their accusations are totally unjustified. For it is revealed and known before him who spoke, and the world came into being, that our master, teacher, and Rebbe guides us on the straight path with his holy books, the path of our ancestors, the path our ancestors have always traveled. Now I bow down and prostrate myself. I beg my master 1,000 times, please let him take to his good heart all my words which I have spoken in rightness and truth. Let him not brush them aside, and if something has affronted his honor, God forbid, let him not count it against me. I have not spoken out of rebellion or treachery. God forbid. It is just that our suffering and persecution are overwhelming, and a person is not for what he does in his anguish. Do not listen to the slanderers who are whispering in your ear, but rather let the righteous man adhere to his accustomed way and rescue the oppressed from the hands of the oppressor. Let him mediate peace in Israel. God, who knows each person's hearts, knows that I very much wish I were able to go to his holy house and speak with his scholarly honor there face to face and explain myself to him. But a mountain stands between me, the poor man, and his exalted honor. I have so many troubles coming at me from every direction that he would not have enough time to talk to me. For in order to explain fully and save myself, I would need his scholarly honor to speak with me many hours a day over many days. This is not possible when he is so busy with matters of heaven and the community. In addition, I, poor man that I am, would be unable to remain there long, because many people come there who gnash their teeth at me, and with whom it is impossible to sit together and discuss anything, so I could certainly not stay there over a period of days, as my master with his clear understanding will realize. It is really for this reason I have refrained thus far from coming to see you. Now in particular, it is impossible for me to pass from my home to the home of His Holiness, because I am afraid of my opponents, and especially of those shameless ones among them to whom my blood is considered permitted. All these things from a great walk. All these things form a great wall, keeping me from his exalted honor. I even have doubts about sending this letter to his great learned honor, but I could not restrain myself, and in every move that I make, I give over my mind and my heart to God, and I will do what he wants. Though there are many things I would like to say, I will keep this letter short so as not to burden the tzaddik with the lot of words. May he flourish as both he and I, this trod upon doorstep, would wish. I stretch forth my hands seeking peace and truth, thus in son of Reb Naftali Hearts of Breslev. Letter 165 with thanks to God. Thursday night, 8 of Shabbos, Vai, Yishnach 5595, Breslev. My dear beloved son, I received your letter from the carrier of this letter, our friend Reb Nachman of Tulchin, along with the pens and the 1 silver ruble from our friend Reb Shimshon. May his light shine. When Reb Nachman arrived at my upper room, our comrades were with me, and I was talking with them about the machlokes that's recently flared up again. In the middle of this discussion, he walked in, and I saw his letter and heard what he had to say. The machlokes was especially fierce in Tulchin, which is about 9 miles from Breslev, where Reb Yitzchak, Reb Nassan's son, lived there as Reb Nachman Tulchiner. Reb Shimshon, Reb Nassan's nephew mentioned earlier, along with several other Breslev Hasidim. It may have been appropriate to burst out crying over such pain and suffering, but instead, marshaling my strength, I overcame it and kept myself happy. Joy in God is our fortress. The most important thing of all is to fortify yourself and be joyful. Only during a certain specific hour every day my soul will undoubtedly cry privately over persecution such as this. Now my son, my heart, and my soul. And all our dear comrades, attend closely to everything we have talked about, because God has supplied us with the treatment before the blow in the form of the gems of wisdom, the holy words that you have heard from me and from the holy books. They have the power to inspire every single one of you even now. we see that the reawakening of this machlokes has also reawakened most of our comrades. They are all saying that our opponents through the machlokes have roused them from their slumber. My sons, do not be sad or angry. God is with us. Do not be afraid of them. As for his question about whether or not to pray in the clois, I have told the carrier of this letter to pass on that I incline towards you are not going there this Shabbos, and I think it might be best for you to choose a new place to pray in town where our comrades pray. I have spoken more about this with the carrier of this letter. Chatzois midnight has arrived and it is Erev Shabbos. Besides, as you can understand for yourself, I have a lot to talk over and get straight between me and my Creator. Maybe I will be able to express myself fluently to him and really pray that he take pity on our disgrace, so I must keep it short. You are receiving a copy of the letter that I prepared to the Rav this morning before dawn. There too, this morning before dawn, there too you will see the wonders of God, how he put the idea in my mind today to write that letter. Advise me as to how you think I should proceed with it. You will hear more from the carrier of this letter, the words of your father so persecuted, who flees every time to God. He strengthens me in his great mercy and saves me with joy. It is in him that my heart rejoices. Nasan of Breslev. Letter 166, publisher's note. Rabbi Yitzchak's wife, Chana, was from a family who opposed the Breslev Hasidim prior to the outbreak of hostilities. The enmity remained dormant, but in the beginning of the years of oppression, she fought fiercely against Rabbi Yitzchak. This letter and the next refer to some of Rabbi Yitzchak's difficulties stemming from his wife and from the opponent's Ilchin. This letter also relates the murder of Reb Nosson Aptaker, Reb Nosson Aptaker, who was erroneously killed instead of Reb Nosson by hired assassins. Reb Nosson Aptaker, Reb Nosson Aptaker, Reb Nosson Aptaker. With thanks to God, Sunday night, Vacation 5595, Bressa, my dear beloved son, I received your letter tonight. I was sleeping when the messenger came and awakened me, and I read the letter carefully. What can I respond, my dear beloved son? It is good to thank God for every single expansion, every bit of relief that God in his enormous mercy gives us from within the pain itself, and particularly for what you wrote about your situation at home, from which I understand that God has helped you. This is the most important thing, and you needn't worry at all anymore. The main impediment that can really be called an impediment is in this area alone, and it is necessary to break this too for the truth, the tachlis. And it is necessary to break this too for the truth, the tachlis, regarding anybody who doesn't break it and swerves from truth in the direction of falsehood through his wife's influence, as is happening now with many. God save us. It is written, a man who follows his wife's advice falls into Gehenna. His life in this world is extremely bitter as well, because it is certainly impossible to do exactly what she says. He ends up bald on both sides. God save us, as we know. Therefore a man must use his intelligence to overcome this and not follow his wife's advice in spiritual matters. Only in worldly matters it is appropriate to listen to her, as is explained in the same Gemara on the subject. How can you say a man who follows his wife's advice falls into Gehenna? We have learned, if your wife is short, lean over to her, i.e. listen to her advice. The answer given is that the first statement refers to spiritual matters, while the second is talking about worldly ones. Thank God we have already faced much suffering and many impediments, and God has helped us to break them and not be influenced by them. And ultimately, through his kindness, they came around to our way of thinking, as is written, when God is pleased with the person's actions, even his enemies will make peace with him. Since God has saved you somewhat in this, you need not look again at all the humiliation, even in the slightest. It is all a great favor. In my opinion, it would be good for you to select a place to pray with the people in the base Medrash study hall of the new city. Does not look as if the Misnagim have any power there to act against our comrades. Why go into a place when you may be when you may be humiliated? What honor will you gain if you pray in the cloise? You already have humiliation anyway, since they are talking about this, which in itself is a great embarrassment. May he who sees the disgrace of the shame that be on our humiliation have mercy on us and save us. As for what you asked about, it is presently nighttime, and it is impossible to investigate. May God have pity on the weeping and screams of Israel, and on the cries bitterer than death that are heard through the streets. Woe to our souls for what we have caused by sins, to see bitter sorrow like this in our generation. Woe and bitterness to the opponents and misnagdim, when they can now speak arrogantly against truly righteous and God-fearing men who cleave to the truth. Human who sweetens the world's bitterness, and in whose hands rests the continued existence of the world. What can we say? How can we justify ourselves? The tears drop from my heart and eyes as I have to answer you about this. I just heard out the darkness of night a loud bitter cry, woe, woe and bitterness, wailing on every street, a bald spot ripped out from grief on every head. Who could hear this and not weep? At least we have this to comfort ourselves in our destitution, that we do not oppose the point of truth. With this alone we have the energy to console ourselves, and even now to make ourselves joyful and turn all the groans and sighs into joy. I am sure you have heard about the bizarre, terrifying event that took place here last Friday night. How everyone in the home of Reb Nosson, son of Reb Tzvi son of Reb Tzvi Apteker was killed on Shabbos morning during the night of morning prayers. On Shabbos morning, during the time of morning prayers, this Reb Nosson, his wife, his brother, Reb Arna Moshe, and the maid were all found murdered in their house. Only 2 children were still alive. The older one, a girl aged 4 or 5, is now lying in bed, bruised and beaten from the murderer's cruel blows, and the younger one is still a nursing infant. The victims were just buried today. The victims were just buried today. May their deaths be an atonement for the Jewish people, and may their souls have eternal life. The murderers have not been found yet. Just one Gentile has been caught. I do not have time to go on anymore. It is just like prior to the miracle of Hanukkah, when the Jews had enormous suffering on every side. That's exactly how it is now. On one side there is what we just told you. We were anguished at what we heard. On the other side, of machlokes such as this, with such abuse and hatred. Above all is the great enemy within the person himself that arises against him constantly, every day and every moment. Launches a new attack. The rabbis of blessed memory teach that this is what is referred to in the verse. The evil man waits for the righteous, seeking to slay him, but God will not abandon him to his hand. The rabbi said too that the verse, he rescues the poor man from the one who is stronger, is to also talking about this. The truth is that all these sufferings, God save us, fuel each other, but God's kindnesses never run out. They are new every morning. Rashi explains on this verse that loving kindness is created anew every morning, and through this we have the energy to look, hope, waits and yearn constantly for his salvation, for he has finished and he will finish everything for the good. For you, God, are eternally exalted, and he always has the upper hand. It is written, God's right hand is exalted. God's right hand does mighty deeds. These are the mighty deeds of the tzaddikim, i.e. the righteous people who are attached to them. They will return to us, not we to them. As the Rebbe, a blessed memory, said, I have finished and I will finish. We have seen a little of it with our own eyes. His mercy has helped us until now, and his kindness will not abandon us. So he will continue to save us with miracles, kindnesses, and great acts of salvation, because the truth endures. The words of your father, teacher, friend, and student who truly loves you, dust trampled under the feet of all, Nosson of Bresla, greetings to all our comrades with the great and mighty love. All these things were said to them too. My beloved son, give this letter to all those who are bound by the chains of our true love to read. Maybe all of them or some of them as a result of my words will wake up and think about their eternal purpose. This is my reward for all my labor. Everything else is vanity, as is written. Do not be afraid if a man grows rich and the honor of his house increases. We have to remember and take at face value the words of our ancestors and rabbis of blessed memory when they said, when a person dies, his silver and gold, gems and pearls do not accompany him, only the Torah he studied and his good deeds. But now in these generations a person must look and search in the books of our master teacher and Rebbe, and among his students students for true advice on how to escape all the twistedness and confusion of this world, which so flusters and twists the heart. May the King of the world bless them, thus and the same. Oi, well, letter 167, with thanks to God. Wednesday night, V'yesha 5595. Blessed, I received your letter just now. You can understand yourself the pain I had, but I didn't let the pain overwhelm me because I knew that this was going to happen. That is why I thought that you ought not start going there last Shabbos. Then you would not have been disgraced like that. But this is also for the best. Please remember, my dear son, the great kindness that God did for you by allowing you to stay alive and to recover instead of mortal danger. You got as a punishment this humiliation, which atones for sins exactly like death. So this is certainly a great kindness from God. It would be appropriate for you to speak with your wife and ask her what she wants. Are you going to stop being my son, God forbid, or not come to see me, God forbid? Didn't she know beforehand that you were my son and what that meant? But if you must suffer from this, then it's all for the good. You already know that the world is full of suffering, and happy is he who suffers for the sake of the Torah. Most men suffer from their wives over mundane things. I hope to God that through your determination to attain the truth, with God's help, you will win her over and she will come back to you to fulfill when God is pleased with the person's actions. Even his enemies will make peace with him. We do not know what to do, but our eyes look to you. We have no one to lean on but our Father in heaven. As for what you wrote about how people are saying that God forbid they will obey him when he gives the order to set fire to the study hall in the new city, this they cannot do. It seems to me that with God's help our comrades are strong there. Since our opponents know this, they will not start up there, realizing that they cannot succeed. God has not decreed that the name of Israel should be obliterated, and in our hardship he sent us relief. He will surely leave you a place to pray. With God's help, he has helped us already, and may he continue to help us and save us more and more from now on. May everything turn into great good, that we may be worthy through this of awakening from our slumber. Everything that is presently happening to us is intended to arouse us from our sleep, to begin to renew ourselves, to walk in his holy ways and come close to him, so that we will return to God from wherever we are. Just a short while ago I decided to send a letter to the Rav. Letter 164, I immediately sealed it. You are receiving it enclosed here and should send it on to him. I did what I had to do to save myself. May God do what is good and turn his heart to look at the real truth. The Lord our God is truth, and his enormous mercy in his enormous mercy he has helped us to this point. We trust in him alone that he will not abandon or neglect us now either. His miracles and thoughts are for us, the words of your Father waiting expectantly for salvation. Also the rest of letter 168. Publishers note this letter alludes to the police activity around Nassan's house on Shabbos Chanukah, the arrest of his followers and the confiscation of his writings. This precipitated Rebbe Nassan's flight for safety eastward to the Shireen area, Kremenchug, Medvedivka, etc. And the reader will notice the different cities Rebbe Nassan writes from in succeeding letters. With thanks to God, Sunday night Mikates, Chanukah 5995. Rest of my dear son, you have already heard about our troubles, and yours I have no doubt that you're aware of. But if it is impossible to relate or explain the miracle, but it is also impossible to relate or explain the miraculous expansions within the straits themselves that God has performed for us and for me, especially during these days. Even what I can perceive myself, I cannot express, let alone what is beyond my perception. God's intention is undoubtedly to give us great good and awesome salvation. And His primary intent is to awaken and rouse us and the whole world from sleep, so that we would wake up in the morning, so that we should wake up in the morning the way that they said, rise mightily in the morning like a lion, arise the morning star. I have explained in an exceedingly beautiful discourse that the essential meaning of this dictum is that we go with the teaching of a Zamra. I will sing to God with what I have left. This Shabbos we spoke at length on the lesson and suffering He gave me relief, and about how Hanukkah embodies this teaching. It is very closely related to everything that is happening with us now. We are waiting constantly to leave the straits completely and to come into great expansion. Our enemies will see and be ashamed. The carrier of this letter, as he will tell you, is very pressured, so I cannot continue the words of your father full of great joy and happiness, especially in a time of trouble and pain. God save us because of the great amazing and infinitely awesome kindness that God did with me and with all Israel, by bringing us near to a holy, awesome light such as this. This is impossible to express. It is for each person according to his own heart's understanding. It is Hanukkah now. Who knows how deep the mystery of Hanukkah runs? I well know, with God's help, that it shows those who dwell below and those who dwell on high what they need to be shown. I really cannot continue the words of one waiting constantly for God's salvation. Nothing impressive. Publisher's notes. Impressive, Reb Nosson had a very close friend and follower, Reb Shmuel Weinberg, who had some influence with the government. Thanks to Reb Shmuel's tireless efforts, Reb Nosson's followers were released a few days after their arrest. He also worked to release Reb Nosson's writings, which took longer, and he was mostly successful. One volume of his writings, known in impressive circles as Trakhav, the 20th volume, was never recovered. It contained Reb Nosson's original discourses of Likuti Halachos on יודע. After completing a certain amount of discourses, Reb Nosson had them bound, and this was the 20th volume. The letter also refers to the results of the incredible pressures faced by the breasts of the Hasidim, and some of the unfortunate results. With thanks to God. Friday before dawn, Ve'ero, 5595 Kremenschug, my dear beloved son, you revived me with the news that thank God, through His loving kindness and miracles, the books have been returned. I have been pining away about this until now. I arrived here at nightfall from Turin, tired and weary, hoping that maybe I would find a letter here from you, and by the kindness of God, before entering the house, I received your letter from Rebbe Fine. May he live, who had got it yesterday. I read it immediately. I am surprised at you, my dear son, for not telling me right at the beginning of the letter about the great salvation that we had. Instead, I had to read much of the letter and hear about our great pain and disgrace. God have mercy, all the while longing to hear this report. Not until the second page did I find the heartwarming good news. How great are God's kindnesses and wonders. What can we return to God for all the kindnesses He has done for us? As for all the humiliation that you wrote up, while I am pained by it all, it really is insignificant. Our lives are like a passing shadow, and the time rushes by. Soon it will all be gone and forgotten. Happy will be the one who held his ground, who continued to dwell in the shade of the Rebbe's holiness and to work with his holy books. And who did the opposite, God forbid, will certainly be ashamed of himself and feel great remorse in this world and next. in this world and the next. Humiliations such as these have already occurred in the past generations, when the Baal Shem Tov of blessed memory shone his holy light in the world. I too and all our comrades went through all this. If the humiliations now are greater in some respects, this is only in proportion to the consequence of what we are doing. Look and you will see miracles. Even now God steers a straight course with his anger, and the barriers and humiliation with which deter a person, God forbid, all come carefully measured to the one on whom they have been decreed. Everything is precisely calculated. Even if we do not know the exact reason for everything, it is still beyond question that God is just in everything he does, for his thoughts are very deep. The entire world is full of trials every day. Surely Itzhak, the son of Reb Avram Doiv Ataseh, have stood up to the test and let himself be purified. But what happened to him? He acted foolishly at the beginning, doing what he did at a time when a wise person would have remained silent. Then he added to his mistake by subsequently separating himself from us, as he himself knows in his heart, from the point of truth. I am sure that at any rate he will not be a misnagid, and if he gained only this from all the times he traveled with us, good enough. Extend greetings to every one of our comrades. It seems to me that any one of them who has a real brain in his head will fortify himself on his own and will hide for a moment until the fury passes. For God will certainly not abandon us. He will show us a good sign, and our enemies will see and be ashamed. They will come back to us and not we to them. The words of the Rebbe of blessed memory will undoubtedly come true when he said, I have finished and I will finish. I wrote you a letter from Shirin and sent it to told Shin. I told you there that I had sent you from a number of letters for Breslev, and to you specifically. Rabbi Yitzchak was the postmaster in Tilchin and could control the flow of mail to and from Reb Nosson without interference from his opponents. I am very surprised that not a single one of them reached you, and I am pained about this, but the salvation that you told me about is more important than anything, and my hope is in God that everything will turn out well. As for your own situation, you already heard my response above. The world is full of tests of all kinds every day, but we already have for all of them a strong foundation, which is firm and endures forever. This is the tzaddik foundation of the world, the undivided foundation. Every one of us, in whatever happens to him, has him to lean on. For we did not come to this world to eat, drink, and satisfy our cravings, God forbid, nor did we come here for money and the imaginary status of this world. We came here to suffer, toil, and struggle in order to know our Creator and Maker. May his name be blessed. In accordance with the Torah that Moses placed before the children of Israel, and with the direction that the true tzaddikim give us, in every generation we must suffer bitterness again and again, and afterwards God and his kindness helps, as we have already seen many times. This is the verse, for the sake of peace I have great bitterness, as explained in his holy books. The way it appears now, you needn't send another letter here, because it is unlikely that I will be here long. From now on, be sure to send me a letter with every post to Uman, and let me know precisely everything that is going on there, so I will know what to do that way. When I go to Uman, shortly, God willing, I will find your letters waiting for me, and they will inspire me with God's help. It looks as if I will be in Uman, God willing, 2 or 3 weeks from now. May God in his good will direct me on the true path in every move I make. I rely on him at present every place I come to. I greatly inspire all our comrades there. Here as well they received me with great love and eagerness. They joyfully came out to welcome me more than ever before. Never have they received me with the love and joy that they did now, but the suffering that I have had thus far from the traveling itself is beyond description. The roads here are in terrible condition, and the horses are weak. For a man getting on in years as I am, my ability to endure the difficulties of travel is just about finished. Even so, though there have been an endless number of expansions to alleviate the hardships. Even so, though there have been an endless number of expansions to alleviate the hardships. To alleviate the hardships expansions to alleviate the hardships. If only God will give me the opportunity to tell you everything so that you will understand the miracle of God's self-supervision, how He in His goodness is constantly renewing the world every day and contracts Himself from His absolute infinity down into every act, word, and thought of every person according to the place and time, and gives him hints. Gewalt, why are we silent after we have heard things such as this? About every single word of them we must say 1,000 times. If we had come to the world only to hear this, it would have been enough. And they are ripping up and desecrating these books. Woe to them and woe to their souls. May the Master of Compassion return them to the truth. May He return us to truly fulfill the Rebbe's holy words, spoken with truth, and God's hints happen on a general level, on an individual level with every person at every time, and it is carried down to the smallest details every moment of every day. What can I say to you, my dear son, and to all our faithful comrades? Pay close attention to what is done with every person in this passing world, this fleeting shadow. Everyone knows that this world is complete vanity, vanity of vanities, and if they aren't able to right their deeds and even commit wrongs, as every single one does in this place of vanity, and as they themselves know, may God pardon them and return them to the truth. They are further impelled to go against the point of truth. Who was worthy of leaving the vain wind? Who was worthy of leaving the vain wind of this world completely, and who did not want to leave any vanity in this world at all, any breath? The point of truth, who was worthy of leaving the vain wind, vain breath of this world completely, and who did not want to leave any vanity, breath, air in this world at all. As explained in Revina's story 13, the 4th day. Ashreni, happy are we, how good is our portion that our souls have escaped this like a bird from a trap. Thank God, the merciful one who has rescued us from this. May He go on to rescue us from all the vanities of this world and to engage all our lives in Torah, prayer, and good deeds. Amen. As it appears, I will not stay here long. I have only been here a short time, so I cannot tell you what is happening here now. In addition, it is now time for the morning prayers. May God send forth His mercy and allow me to pray with great concentration, to acknowledge this day's complete renewal of creation, and to fulfill, to speak of His loving kindness in the morning, the words of your Father, hoping to see you soon with God's help. Plus, and a rest of greetings to all our companions with much love. Letter 170, with thanks to God, Wednesday night, Beshalach, 5595, Krakow. Greetings to my honored, beloved son, Yitzchak, may he live. Nanach nachmo nachmo meyuman. Nanach nachmo nachmo meyuman. I already wrote you that I reached Shug on Thursday night, Parshas Va'era. There I found your letters telling me that the holy books have been returned, thank God, and this greatly encouraged me on Friday. And on Friday the following day I sent you my letter, and until yesterday I was in Shug. All that time I did not receive a single letter, neither from Breslov nor from Uman, and I do not know what to think. It must be that during a time of suffering such as this, God have mercy, we need to have this pain as well. But my consolation amidst my destitution is that by God's kindness and enormous miracles they succeeded in getting out the books. What can I give back to God? How good is the lot of Reb Shmuel Weinberg that he was able to have a redemption of captives such as this accomplished through his agency. Ashrehem, happy are all those who took part in this. Happy are all those who gave money for this redemption of souls and of the Holy Torah. Woe to them and woe to the souls of these informants. With their false charges they have rebelled and sinned against the honor of God, the honor of the Holy Torah, the honor of the Baal Shem Tov of blessed memory and his holy students, and the honor of our master teacher and Rebbe of blessed memory, all of whose holy books were impounded as a result of their treachery. May God pay back the evildoer according to his evil, and in his great loving kindness let him have compassion on us poor, persecuted paupers. May he quickly save us for the sake of his great and holy name, in which we hail, for his great name is found in the name of the true tzaddik, as explained in the lesson in the beginning, in the sight in the sight of all Israel, which I spoke about the Shabbos Hanukkah, and to which I added a few finishing touches here. I was already prepared to go today, but God in His compassion arranged that I should be extremely busy, and so ended up traveling past the post office with Rebbe Ephraim, may his light shine. Rebbe Ephraim went in, and there he found 2 of your letters, one was written on Sunday boy, and the other on Thursday boy. I was quite overwhelmed by God's enormous loving kindness, and I quickly went to Rebbe Ephraim's house. I read each letter carefully through twice. I do not have to tell you how your letters affected me. Distress and comfort, weeping and song. You can grasp only a little of this, but not all of it. At the time I was extremely preoccupied with crossing the Dnieper River and preparing to spend the night. It is 2 or 3 hours after dark, and I just arrived here in Krakow. I am writing this letter immediately upon my arrival, and I am extremely busy and preoccupied with a number of things. Your letters in particular. People are also coming here to welcome me. Still, I have postponed everything and am making myself write you immediately with every response God puts under my pen. Your letters encouraged me enormously, even though you told me how intense the machlokes still is. May God have mercy. Nonetheless, my hope is in God that the whole thing will turn into good, especially since we see His tremendous miracles and kindness within all the suffering. God save us, for God is still with us and near us and right by our side. As you wrote that our comrades in Uman have seen the beginnings of salvation in a number of areas. We see in this the greatness of God's deeds, how deep are His thoughts, and we see the great power of the Holy Elder, the Elder of Elders, whose power is still with us, even to ripe old age. It will never abandon us. As for encouraging you, you already wrote to me, thank God, that you are, as you should be, adamant in the truth. I was really pleased by what you said in your letter, that you inspire yourself with the various things that you've heard from me. In my opinion, God has provided us with the treatment in advance of the blow, with the many holy conversations that I have been having with you for many years now, and with all the holy lessons and stories and the holy prayers with God, which God gave me the merit of composing. These contain more than enough to inspire yourself even during troubled times such as these, so much so that you ought to be dancing now every day over the greatness of God's salvation and enormous miracles, and that He saved us from being opponents to a point of truth such as this. What can I say? With what can we come to meet God after all the good He has given us? At present I am suffering because I have not yet received a single letter from Breslov. In addition, I have yet to get my visa. My mind is really not clear at all right now. Fortify yourself and be strong, for God is with you. There is reward for your work, and there is good reason to be hopeful about our end. If you look closely at one holy lesson out of His holy books, you will be able to comfort yourself for all the troubles that come upon us. Salvation is in God's hands. May He rescue us from them in the Rebbe's great merits. I have much to say, but time does not permit it. The words of your father, hoping to see you soon in life. Peace and joy. Nothing of Breslov. Send greetings to all the inhabitants of Breslov who have risen up to help us. May God be with them. May He repay what they have done and give them great reward. May they merit every good in this world and the next eternally. Amen. Through all the suffering and turmoil that I have gone through, and that we all have gone through as a group and individually, especially throughout the enormous distress and fear that we have experienced this year from Rosh Hashanah until today, especially throughout the enormous distress and fear that we have experienced this year from Rosh Hashanah until today, as a result of the tremendous awakening of the machlokes and of those who hate us. Through it all I only encourage myself with what the Rebbe of blessed memory Human said on the verse, the evil man waits for the righteous, seeking to slay him, but God will not abandon him to his hand. Look up what he wrote there. But they, the wicked, conceal the righteous so much that a person cannot even breathe. God forbid, but God will not abandon him to his hand, which we see for ourselves. We have to believe that the machlokes is undoubtedly very good for every single one of us. However, in that which they desire to uproot everything altogether, they will not be successful. Anyone who really wants to be a good Jew, the way that our master teacher and Rebbe of blessed memory, taught us to live with true, simple purity and sincerity in accordance with the Torah that our teacher Moses commanded us, and that our rabbis of blessed memory passed down to us. Without a doubt, no barrier in the world can stop him. For the rule already stands: a person is never faced with the barrier that he cannot break, so that if you need to pray alone, well, so did many of the pious of earlier The pious of earlier times. They did not want to be disturbed in their prayers by praying with the community. I already wrote you that you should fulfill, hide for a moment until the fury passes. You can rest assured that not so long from now, you will be able to pray in whatever study hall you want. This sort of thing has to happen to all the tzaddikim and to all the good Jews attached to them, because at first they have suffering and in the end contentment. I have no time to continue. Nothing of Breslev. Letter 177. With God's help, Motza Shabbos Shira 5595 Chirin. Nachman Meyuman. Nachman Meyuman. Nachman Meyuman Meyoid. Hayu Kushimi. Nerada Selecho Talmini. Hayuka Yagdilecho. Kirenesim Yoy Ma Vodesecho. Vilecho Mati Ma Fire with me and Biz Mashiach. Vet Kemin Chazak. Via Matzba Vodesecho. Nachman Meyuman. It was a galal chesed v'hi mulav gudish mekavlet ka betzadi yidkei v'chizaka avoid tivinahi v'semen yid zayin betam is yomi she'ein chomis ane.